over to Linda.
Okay, I think all of you are here. We have our 3 candidates in the audience. We're using this Zoom meeting as opposed to a webinar in order to give each one of the candidates an opportunity to interview without the others hearing, which is what they do during a regular board meeting. Are we recording this, John? I want to check and make sure of that, for heaven's sake.
Yes, it is recording.
Because I'm going to explain when we go into the regular meeting, because some people are probably going to have questions exactly what went on and why we did what we did.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, ladies and gentlemen, I have 3 candidates ready to go. The first candidate that you're going to hear from is Michael Wadsworth. If you would bring him in, please.
Okay, I'll bring in Michael here. All right, Michael, you're now in the meeting.
Okay.
Hi, Michael. Whenever you're, go ahead. Whenever you're ready, you can start your introduction to the board. And when you're done with your introduction, just let them know that you're ready to answer any questions they might have.
Okay. Well, I've lived in Sudden Valley for 5 years. My wife and I moved here because we loved the woods and how quiet we found it out here. We felt we got a better value and more house for our money than in Bellingham at the time. The cost of living here was within our budget, and the homeowner agreement seemed to be fair and equitable. Since I've lived here, I've learned that we have an extremely diverse population in age, occupation, family size, and finances. We have different habits, hobbies, and time available, so staying aware of the inner workings of the homeowner association is hard to keep up with. I would work to make Sudden Valley a community of neighbors living together. I would accomplish this by bringing an open and transparent representation of the future and direction of our plans to the homeowners. I think homeowners want the same thing: affordable dues, assets being maintained, trust built in the leadership, and accountability in the distribution of our funds. I would like to change our bylaws. We're being governed by rules that no longer are pertinent to the current time or population. I have heard some great ideas on how to streamline our governing documents and save the association money and bring trust and peace to our neighborhoods. I think it's time for new ideas to be allowed to be implemented in the subcommittees and fair and equitable representation of today's homeowners. We have the ingredients here to make this a wonderful, desirable, and affordable community. We just need to be willing to listen and choose how we.
Hello. I guess I'm my wife tonight.
That is what
That fixed for AJ.
as a board member. I know I do not have the qualifications of being on a former board or having a board position, nor have I had to make million-dollar decisions. I'm just a blue-collar guy who has learned to work hard, be honest, live within a budget, and at the end of the day, I can say I tried to bring out the best of those around me, which I will try to do if I am chosen to be on the board of directors. And that's the end.
Okay. Do any of the board members have questions for this candidate, please?
I have a hand, Karen.
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay. Thanks, Mike, for volunteering to apply for this. I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about what you think Sudden Valley does well, and then some ideas of where you think that we can improve. And you mentioned a few things in your introduction, like changes to bylaws or new ideas or streamlining. Maybe you can touch on those a little bit more specifically.
Well, I think Sudden Valley does well in keeping things going out here. It's got to be a daunting task, and kind of like Abraham Lincoln said, you can please some of the people some of the time and all that. But at any rate, I think overall that a lot of good things are being done out here. I see some improvements. the marina looks nice. Be nice if the ramp got fixed down there. And the dog park idea seems to be working. Some of my ideas on streamlining and stuff was, I mean, everybody's doing video and emails and newsletters online. I think we could stop printing the view and put it out online to people. And then if those that really wanted it, they could request it. I guess you could have a few printed or whatever. I know that you get better deal on bulk, but I think everybody could be swung over to an online version and save the printing cost and mailing cost and all that. I think the money that we spend on security could be spent a little better and actually have somebody out here like other places do, like Maple Falls and others. They actually have a sheriff that's out there that covers their area and watches for speeders. And I know there's a lot of people drinking and driving out here because I see the empty bottles along the road. And that should be enforced before something happens. And the security staff that we have don't really have a lot of power to do much of anything. I think that money could be spent better. I think we could change the home business bylaws. That was a big controversy there, and things like that.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Michael?
Linda, I don't see any other hands.
Okay, Michael, there's no other questions, so John's going to return you to the waiting room and we'll bring the next person in.
Okay, I got off easy. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person that's due up is Rob Gibbs, Robert Gibbs, but we all call him Rob, so Rob Gibbs, please.
All right, we'll go ahead and bring Rob in at this time. There we
Is
go.
is the community not allowed to watch this?
No, and if you'd like, AJ, I'll explain that at the end of this and at the opening of the regular board session.
Okay.
This will
Rob,
be.
can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
We can. Would you please start your introduction to the board, and then they'll go ahead and ask you any questions that they have.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. How are you? Good.
Rob.
Yeah.
Good. Hi, Rob.
Hi, everyone. So a little bit about me in terms of my experience or education and training. I spent 37 years as a quality professional in an aerospace company. Most of that in project management or as a quality manager. So I led a number of product and process improvement teams. I was either an auditor or had been an auditee during different auditing processes. But most of that time was trying to improve processes and be more productive, improve quality, and improve safety. And also received quite a bit of training in terms of diversity and emotional intelligence, how to deal with people and lead teams, be a team member. And so those are all skills I think I would bring forward as a director if you so chose me. Pretty successful in being able to do those things. So I'm pretty confident with that. I retired in 2016. My sister and brother-in-law had moved up to Sun Valley, and Cindy and I absolutely fell in love with this community. It was beautiful. When we were looking for a home, it seemed like each time we would go to preview a home, people on the street would come up and introduce themselves with smiles. I think we've got great people that live here, great neighbors, and we've really enjoyed that. It's been fun. I don't sit on my hands too well. For you guys that know me, I tend to get involved. I think probably the first month we were here, I went to a board meeting, and I noticed that one of the directors was leaving the board table to go and try to get the soundboard corrected, because at that time we were trying to live stream the meeting so people could be better informed. And I kept noticing, when there'd be feedback or whatnot, he would get up and make an adjustment. That's something that I love technology, and I like playing with sound. So I joined the communications committee, was told I could help with that. And they said, well, you need to actually apply, and was vetted and got involved in communications. Then later on, there was an opening on ACC. And so I applied for that position, was chosen, and then ran for that seat the following election cycle. So I'm currently on ECC. A lot of you know that I love being on the water, so I'm always down in the marina. I got involved in Parks, Trails, and Rec, and so I'm currently the chairperson of Park, Trails, and Rec, and chair of the Marina Subcommittee. What else I've been involved? Help with other things. So I think that having been involved in some of these committees, I've got a pretty good understanding of how work gets done and how they engage. And so I think that would help me to be successful. Yeah, I think that what my goals in the community, I think we've got a great livelihood here. I think it's wonderful, but I think that we need to listen to people, but I think we need to take a look at our processes and say, how can we be more efficient? How can we be more productive? And working with admin, with our own cells, with our own committees, how can we do things better? How can we improve? How can we, if something didn't go well, how could we take a look at as an after action review and improve upon that? I think that we have to have good data, because what I've learned is to make sound decisions, we have to have good data. And I think that one of the things that's on my mind is trying to help Joe's team with the reserve study and validate that data. So that would be a goal of mine, is to try to help with that. I think that's probably kind of wraps it up. One of the things I want to say is I love being part of teams. I love trying to work together with a group of people to try to resolve a problem, and I would look forward to that. And I would end by saying that there is no group of people who have reached out to me and recruited me to do this. This is the second time I've applied. Nobody is saying, hey, we need you to go do this. No one has said, if you decide to run next year, that we will support you. We will put any money forward to do that. I want to be very clear about that. I stand on my own 2 feet, and I'll make decisions that I feel are good decisions based on facts and data and what inputs that people would give us.
Okay,
So
thank
with that,
you, Rob. Oh, Rob, thank you. Can the board ask questions now of you?
Of course.
They have a period of time, because you have your 5 minutes, and we're kind of running within this half-hour window.
Well,
So
both
do
of
any
them
of the
know
board
I'm
members
not-
have a question for Rob?
Linda, we have Josh.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Hey, Rob,
Josh.
how are you?
Good, Josh.
Hey, I know you're very passionate about the marina. What would be, if you can improve on something else in the community, what would the next thing be?
Better communication. How do we gather people's thoughts and ideas and wants and needs with some other vehicle other than reading it on social media? I would love to be involved with how do we engage people in a healthy way.
Anyone else, please, from the board?
Linda, we have Karen.
Go ahead, Karen.
Thanks. So you talked a little bit about how you enjoy working with teams, Rob. Oh, first of all, thank you. Thank you for being willing to serve and the service that you have done.
Thank you.
So you talked a little bit about loving to work with teams, and inevitably working with a group of people, you have people with differing opinions and, you know, sometimes some conflicts, not necessarily angry with each other, but just differences of opinion. So how do you work with people in that situation? How do you help resolve conflict and work with people to come to a good resolution?
Oh, good question. Thanks for asking that. First of all, I don't shy away from conflict. Actually, if there's conflict, that leads me to believe that people care. And that's most important, is that do people care? What I try to do if there's a disagreement is one, not get pulled into it and where it flares up. Because like I said, I think conflict's good, but it's how you deal with it. If it becomes negative or people are lashing out, that's bad. I think that through this, trying to peel back the onion and really try to understand what is the issue, where are the disagreements, where can you find agreement, or where can you find compromise, how can you resolve it? And usually pointing to data, if there's data available, it is good. But sometimes you just got to talk through it and take the time. And also I need to listen. I need to really listen and not have the next idea formulating in my mind, to really understand where the other person's coming from.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to ask a question of Rob?
Linda, we have AJ.
Go ahead, AJ.
So you've talked a little bit about listening and working as a team, and engaging with community members. So the one time that I've engaged with you, I discussed things with you, and you propagated a whole bunch of information out to the community, saying I said things that I didn't. And you know, you're talking about working as a team, and I'm wondering how are we supposed to work as a team together when things like that happen?
Well, AJ, as I recall, things were pretty passionate around that recall time, weren't they? And we had some conversation. You and I had some offline communication after a meeting, and I thought you and I kind of what I was talking about. Emotions were high, took a deep breath, stood with each other and talked through that. And one of the lessons that I learned from that, AJ, is I'm not going to engage in stuff on social media. I'm not going to get pulled into having a conversation on a keyboard. I'd rather have what you and I had, where we actually came together and talked through that.
Yeah, and I will admit that, you know, you did come and apologize to me. Still find it difficult to work as a team together with someone who's going to do that. And so that's fine. You know, you had that conversation with yourself and with others on social media. You didn't have that conversation with me on social media. And so I guess where I stand is I'm going to have a hard time, you know, voting to put you onto the board when things like that have happened.
I understand, and that would be your decision. It's your vote. If I was chosen, I would look forward to working with you, AJ.
Sounds good.
Linda,
Okay,
I
are
see
there
no more
any other
hands.
questions? Oops, excuse me, anyone else?
I see no more hands, Linda.
Rob, I'm going to have John return you to the waiting room, and we'll have the final candidate. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate chatting with you.
Thank you, Rob. All right.
Okay, if you bring Brian Cope in.
Okay, bringing Brian Cope in now. Here we go. Looks like he's connecting.
Hi, Brian. You're connected. Oop, I don't think we can hear you. We can't hear you.
Brian, your audio is still connecting.
There we go.
Hey, everybody. I think I'm good. Right?
Okay, Brian, if you'd like to start your introduction to the board And we're
Okay.
off and running.
Great. All
Go
right.
ahead.
Yeah, everybody. Hi. I think you all know me. I'm Brian Cope. Nice to see everybody. I'm going to go ahead and read my statement first, and then you guys can ask me questions after that. Does that sound good to everybody?
Sounds good. 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes.
Okay. Plenty of time. Won't take that long.
Okay.
Okay. So my goals for this community, folks, touch upon numerous interconnected registers. Building trust needs to be at the forefront of all of our decision making moving forward. In talking with community members through the AGM and other efforts, I have grown to understand that Sutton Valley is a heterogeneous community that needs to work together with a leadership that is proportional to relevant community interests and needs. To fulfill this goal, we need to put our individual visions aside and do what is best for the community. Being a teacher and researcher has taught me to approach situations with an openness and understanding that there are going to be complexities and challenges at every turn. In this respect, I would continue to work with long-range planning to create and implement a community-wide survey that would serve as our strategic pole star. Explicitly making the commitment to such a goal would go a long way to restoring community trust, which in turn will also improve societal perception of our community. Our goals in this heterogeneous community should be to attend to the needs of all of our members. Now, pre-survey and based upon talking with community members and informal polls, my understanding is that there are a number of important issues to be addressed. First and most importantly, I feel that there should be a comprehensive list of maintenance and road repairs in this valley, of which we know there is an overwhelming backlog. Second, we live in an area of pristine beauty that is a mecca for outdoor activities. Thus, I believe that there is a great economic payoff in our accentuation and cultivation of the natural beauty of our community. This strategy would be to continue to reinvigorate our trail system, highlighting areas such as Repeater Road, Atop Gate 5, a favorite of local hikers and mountain bikers, and numerous other neighborhood forested trails, as well as to continue doing the things that SVCA has done well. Maintaining the trails around the Lake Louise Road Trail, the kayak racks, parks, benches, beaches are nice too, beaches, and a plan to work on area-wide trail. Thus, as a board member, I would be keenly aware that any restoration or improvement of these areas will bring about unity and healing in our community. I think that if we make our focus on natural beauty, Bellingham residents will notice the perceptual shift from Sutton Valley being that place of dark hollows and bad politics to one of natural beauty and community health. Additionally, I would like to see more innovative activities for our community members and further cultivation of activities that are already happening, such as the community gardens, in which there currently is a waiting list. Through my work at Whatcom, I have connected with local permaculturists and others who know how a community garden can connect all of us. Currently, we're working on hoping to get a garden implemented at Whatcom. So we've been thinking a lot about that and have done a survey of students and faculty there to see what the interest is and how a garden could actually help us there. This is just one of the examples of activities, though, that I believe that could happen in Sutton Valley. I believe there's a plethora of other things that we could pursue. We have an amazing group of community members who have fabulous ideas, and we need to do a better job listening to them. And I think that's just another point that we can focus on. To close, right now we have an opportunity to bandage a gaping wound in this community, to build a bridge to unification, to allow us to rise to a new dawn. And each of us know that though these may be cliched metaphors, there is truth to each one of them. Mm-hmm. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I look forward to answering your questions.
Okay, any board member that has any questions for Brian?
I see you all
You've
now.
left them
Hey.
speechless. No.
Oh my.
Josh has his hand up, Linda.
Hey, Josh.
Go ahead, Josh.
Do you want to take it first, Lucy Lama?
First of all, that was my code name. You weren't supposed to. I'll go first if you don't want. Is it showing up now? I think it's my real name, what I see.
No, it's your real name. I had to use it at some point tonight.
Well, now my cover's blown. I got to come up with a new one. Sorry.
Sorry.
I,
Mike's losing his patience, so I think you need to
Come
ask
on,
your
we're
question.
running up against 7 o'clock here, guys.
Here's my question. What do you think the biggest challenges are facing Sudden Valley, and how would you use your specific skill set to improve that?
Okay. I kind of listed the challenges. I think the biggest challenge is restoring trust in the community and finding out what the community, what the needs are for the community, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why I feel that my skill set in helping with the strategic plan is, through communication, through my experience as a researcher. I'm used to, obviously as a researcher, right? We come at things, we all have different stances. We all have subjectivities that we come at an issue to. But understanding that, knowing that, we come at as a researcher with questions, right? And you ask those questions and hopefully be able to think about the answers and be able to think about them in an objective enough way to kind of to understand what's really happening in a situation. And so that's the biggest problem right now, I believe, is trust in the community.
Thanks. Can I ask a follow-up that's actually not related? But
Sure.
Are you a mountain biker, and would you join the Parks and Rec Committee? I feel like we're kind of underrepresented in the mountain biking community, and I'm just looking for volunteers. So.
Well, thanks for asking, Karen. I am a mountain biker, if you look over there. Yes, I am, and I love to mountain bike. I'm currently on long range planning, and I hope to continue with that. And I wouldn't I would not dismiss the idea of being on Parks and Trails. I think it would be fun to
You can always be a guest.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I think we had Josh waiting with a question.
Karen kind of touched on this, but how do you feel, or do you feel that your career in education will help your, governance ability with the board? Like how would you relate those two things?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that with Karen, I kind of touched upon the idea of being a researcher and things like that, but being an educator, being a teacher in a classroom is a little bit different. In a writing class, it's especially different because a writing class is like a one-room schoolhouse a lot of times, right? It's a very, like Sudden Valley, right? It's a very heterogeneous community. You have people with all kinds of different skill sets there in that room, who have different needs, different ages. In a community college, and especially a community college, right? We have people with different ages. From high school students who are taking Running Start to 50-year-old students who are coming back to school after a long layoff. And so it allows me to think about how people make connections with one another. And it seems like something that I can really do naturally. And a lot of that is just sort of tuning in with the moment or the situation that we're in. So yes, I think that being in education would definitely help me in this role. Also, we tend to become overachievers in education, and I think that's happened to me, right? I just served as a peer reviewer for a journal, and the editor was just like, my gosh, you did way more work than you needed to do. So, but I feel like that just the being able, preparing a virtual presentation every day is what we do, and listening. I'm really learning how to even become a better listener than I was before. I feel like in my place in life, I really need to listen first.
Okay, is there anyone else with a question?
I don't see any other.
No.
Paula.
Go ahead, Paula.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Paula.
Hi. I actually, I hadn't written this down. I didn't plan on really asking any questions, but AJ actually kind of brought something to my awareness earlier. And I guess I want to ask about trust and finding common ground amongst fellow board members. I think an elephant in the room could be that, we just came through an AGM and we had 5 members that are on the board that were petitioned to be removed, and you were the spokesperson for that. And I think one of the things I've found in leadership and leading groups is one of the most important things that we have to be able to do is learn how to give each other the benefit of the doubt, to learn to believe and to give people the allowance that we're all coming from our best of intentions, so that we can work together and move forward. And so I think it would be great to just kind of address how would you work on building that foundation of trust and common ground to move forward if you were voted onto the board.
Yeah, good question, Paula. You're right. Elephant in the room for sure. Yeah, I think that first of all, making me a member of the board would promote that kind of trust, and people would see, hey, look at that unity. He was the person representing the petitioners. And second of all, I just think that in terms of, are you asking like how I would work with you all, or?
Yeah, I think that's exactly.
I want to stress that the situation that I was involved in, the movement there, wasn't an indictment of any of you personally. I have no personal, as I've mentioned it before in the meetings and such, I have no personal issue with any of you. It was just that I vehemently disagreed with a lot of your choices and decisions. And I feel like that I'm hoping that you've all learned from those choices and decisions, and that you would be amenable to working with me. And I certainly would be amenable to working with you all. That would be fabulous.
Okay, are there any other questions for him? We're at 7:03 right now. I'm just trying to remind the board, because we're all gonna have to leave this meeting. If we have no more questions for Brian, I'd like to put Brian back in the waiting room. John, can you instruct them how to come over to the regular meeting?
Yeah, so Brian, I'm going to go ahead and return you to the waiting room here.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And
Whoops. So,
that's okay.
did you want to bring them all in here once the selection is done and inform them?
How do I say? The voting needs to take place on the webinar, where everybody that's in the audience waiting for us to hook up can do it. And then they need to just be in that audience. Then whoever is voted and elected needs to be moved up to a panelist, and we move forward.
Why don't we bring them all in here, and I'll just inform them. You guys can start moving over. I already have the webinar started.
All righty, thank you. And AJ, I'll answer your question about this meeting.